The USA, home of the brave, land of the free. That is a phrase I heard so many times growing up. Growing up in the United States, I was told to believe, along with thousands of millions of other people, that they live in the greatest country on earth, that they are in the land of the free, that our way of living is superior to everyone else's, that we live in the greatest country on earth. Of course I believed it along with millions of other people, and it's to no fault of their own. I just decided to go overseas in 2019, and that changed my perspective being abroad for nearly 7 years. I will explain 5 ways that I have been de-westernized, and not just myself, several other Westerners, whether they're American, European, doesn't matter. Several ways people get de-westernized by living overseas. Let's get straight into it. The first way I have been de-westernized is that I now see the United States' standard of freedom as an illusion. When I first began my teaching abroad journey, I went to South Korea. And I went to South Korea because it's a free country. When I was there, I saw so many protests against the government. So they have the freedom to protest, obviously peacefully, but they have the freedom to protest. They have freedom of speech. You can talk bad about anyone in the government and you won't go to jail. You have freedom of religion too. From my American mindset at the time, I was thinking, this is perfect. It's a free country. But the longer I stayed there, and I realized, wow, people have so much pressure. Okay, there are insane beauty standards, which I covered in my last video. Insane beauty standards that women deal with, that the majority of the population gets plastic surgery. Maybe not the majority of the population, but a good chunk, just to look good, just to get a job that they want. Looking a certain way gives them the edge. Children are under a lot of pressure to study. So when they get out of their normal school, they have to go to the Hagwon private academy to learn English or to play piano or to do anything. And then they go home late at night and they have to study. Some of them study until 10, 11 p.m. at night. Adults work very long hours and they work really hard. Korean people work very hard. If you're Korean, I respect you. I shout out to you. But you guys work very long hours. And a lot of people, unfortunately, get home very late and they don't have time for their families. We are told in Korea that people who get the best university degree from the most prestigious universities will get the best jobs, and that is true. But even these people are stressed out of their mind. Sadly, in South Korea and in Japan, the suicide rate is also high. These are supposed free countries. And even though they have the right to protest, the right to have freedom of speech, all these things, a lot of people are still very unhappy. And so what I've learned being overseas is that freedom is not just having freedom of speech. You can still not have freedom of speech and you can still be happy. Because truly, true freedom is being happy. Doing things that you enjoy doing. Waking up every day and finding excitement in what you want to do, what you're doing, being with your family. This is freedom. So in America, the land of opportunity, people get into intense student loan debt just to get an education. There is a terrible justice system where violent criminals in several places are not held accountable. They're not put in jail forever. They're not put to death. And so what happens, a lot of people who commit violent crimes are constantly going in and out of jail, which puts innocent people like Irina, the woman from Ukraine, who was murdered on the train. Tragic. Even people who are just trying to live a normal life, doing the right thing, they are not 100% safe because the local government doesn't do the right thing, putting people who are not willing to change, who want to just live a life of crime, letting them in the street. I will also add that the horrible, evil person who murdered this innocent lady was arrested 14 times. This woman came to America for a better life, to escape horror, okay? And she was murdered by somebody who is a part of a system that rewards violent criminals by letting them on the street, not holding them accountable. And she was failed by the place she thought she was free in. So I've said what I've said about that. Also, home ownership in America is becoming increasingly more difficult. Inflation is out of control, and people are working super hard just to barely afford basic necessities like rent, gas, and groceries. So yes, we have the freedom of speech. Well, there is censorship, but you have freedom of speech more than many other places. But you're not 100% safe. Violent criminals who are constantly committing violent crimes are not held accountable in many places. And you're working so hard just to barely be able to afford to live. Perhaps our concept of freedom could be an illusion. Another way I've been de-westernized is that I see United States culture and Western culture in general as very individualistic. So in Western society, people don't really care about people don't care about each other. I've seen some videos online of terrible things, such as Irina, the woman from Ukraine, where as she lied dying in her seat on the train, in horror, shocked, terrified as she dies several seconds later, there are people who witnessed what happened and not one person tried helping her to give her comfort, tried to stop the bleeding. No one did anything. They just looked at her as if they saw just, I don't know, someone sitting in their seat like nothing ever happened. And she is not the only person who something bad has happened to her where no one does anything. This individualistic culture would rather just take out their phones in certain situations and start recording instead of trying to do the right thing. Culturally, in America, we are also taught that if we don't move out by a certain age, we're losers. That if we're still living with our parents at a certain age, you're a loser. And I've seen many people put their parents in nursing homes, the very people that took care of them growing up. And I understand every situation is different, but it is very common. Whereas in Asia and in non-Western countries, the very opposite happens. People take care of their parents, even if they're sick. They let their parents stay with them, and people sacrifice for each other. Sacrifice in the West is something we don't like to talk about. Non-Western countries, such as South Korea and other places, are very family-oriented. That people stay home, living with their parents until they get married. And even if they don't get married, they still stay home with their parents. Many people do. And it's not seen as being a loser, because family is a very sacred thing in these cultures. People like being with their parents. People like being with their children. Okay, and even if they don't live with their parents, they live on the same street, in the same town. You get what I'm saying. Non-Western cultures are more family-oriented, sacrifice for each other, help each other out, whereas in the West, we just focus on ourselves, our feelings, what I want, and we don't think about other people. I will admit, being that I didn't leave the United States till I was 28, I'm still Western-minded in certain areas, but I'm slowly changing. So for example, my wife, she gave birth here in China. She's not Chinese. And so her family, her parents came here and they stayed with us to help my wife, because there are too many women in the West who raise babies on their own, and people get into postpartum depression. And my family has helped me realize that when women get help, when they don't have this girl boss, I can do it myself, individualistic mindset, when people get help, motherhood is not seen as a terrible thing. And so her family had to go back because the visa expired, but then they came back because she needs help. And we're not going to stay in China forever. But the point I'm making is, in non-Western cultures, people are willing to sacrifice for each other, especially family. This, in the United States, many people would say, oh, I got to live my life. I got to do what I want. I'm not going to sacrifice to help you, even family. Isn't that strange? One more thing I'd like to add about individualism is that what I like about South Korea, Japan, China, what I like about countries where the majority of people look the same is that the majority of everyone is united, okay? What I like about China, and I don't care what you say what you want in the comments. But what I like about China is that people are very united, okay? And China, Korea, non-Western countries where people look the same, are also aligned with the values and mindset. In the United States, in multicultural societies like the United States, there's too many clashes of just people hating one another, and the media doesn't help. And when you have a media that's constantly labeling, oh, Republicans are the enemy, oh, those liberals, those Democrats, they're the enemy, you don't have a stable culture, you don't have an identity, and it's just, it doesn't help with the individualistic problem. So you get what I'm saying. Point number 3, of the de-westernization of my mindset is I realized that, unfortunately, in the United States, children are not welcomed. They're not welcome. Now, obviously, South Korea, Japan, here in China, several places around the world, the birth rate is going down, okay? There are several reasons for that. It's expensive, all the cultural pressures, okay? There are a lot of things. It seems with the Gen Z and even with millennials, people are not really wanting to get married. People would rather just live their own life, make money, buy a house. That's their priority. And South Korea and several places around the world, with the rise of social media especially, people are influenced by Western culture, unfortunately. But in general, outside of the United States and in the West, I would say children are still more accepted in non-Western countries. I'll never forget when I was in Kazakhstan and in Georgia. I went to Georgia, the country of Georgia, for my honeymoon, and we had a long layover in Kazakhstan. I remember just walking around the park in Kazakhstan, in several parks in Georgia, and seeing all the families just hanging out. Young mothers, probably in their early to mid-20s, just taking their kids to the park, just not on their phones, not glued to their screens. Kids are not on their iPads. And kids and families are just enjoying the time, and the same was in Georgia. Now, obviously, I'm not going to paint this picture that all non-Western countries, I'm not going to paint this picture that everyone wants children. There are people who clearly don't want kids, okay? But still, I feel like even in non-Western countries like South Korea, China, Japan, where very often when you see families together, the parents are on their phones, kids are on an iPad, okay? Not presenting it as completely different, but still, even people, despite being imperfect, I don't think there is a hatred towards children. I feel like in the United States and in Western countries, people are becoming more hostile to children. It always makes me sad seeing comments on social media of people just saying, kids are terrible, they take all your money, they're a burden, they're just evil, and it just seems like just people, just a hatred for kids. You know, I have a little boy, he's a year old, and very often when I take him out, he gets attention, people smile, people are always giving him toys sometimes when they, like for example, we're at the restaurant and it's not just staff. If he's crying, a random stranger could just give a toy. It's happened several times. So what I'm saying is that in non-Western cultures, kids are welcome in society, they're a part of society, and not one time when my son is crying, not once has someone said, will your kid please just be quiet? Will you make your kid be quiet? There's more of an understanding. You get what I'm saying. Another way, the fourth way I've been de-westernized in my mindset is I've realized, being overseas as an English teacher, I've realized that wealth is not just about how much money you have, how much material things you have. Even if you are materially wealthy, you are rich, you have all the nice cars, okay? If you are working so much, you make a six-figure income, if you are working so much that you can't even enjoy your wealth, you're just workaholic, you're constantly just stressed, is that really wealth? It's slavery. I was in Russia this past summer, visiting my wife's homeland of Yakutsk, and all these large family gatherings were so sacred. I can't describe it. It was like Thanksgiving on steroids. We're constantly getting together, eating homemade food, people cooking for one another, people just enjoying the time. And I just realized it was such a beautiful time, people just together. They may not be materially wealthy, but they are happy. They have each other, they have family. Also, having a spouse, having a wife that supports you no matter what, that loves you even on your bad days, that is true wealth. I hit the jackpot. Whenever I go hiking or when I'm in nature, I feel this intense happiness that I can't describe. It's like really nice. I don't live in some big metropolis city in China. And I live in a very small suburban town, semi-countryside. And I see this wealthy mindset every day of families just eating together, the same people every day just spending time together. You know, you could be materially wealthy, but if you're just living for things that when you're on your deathbed, when you're dead, will just rust away. You won't have them anymore anyway. It doesn't matter, right? A prime example of this mindset is my wife's uncle. This man is old, he's mid to late 60s. He has never been to Moscow. He's never been to St. Petersburg. He has never been to some big city. He has never left Russia even. He lives in a very small, remote area and that no one knows the name of. And he is so content. He loves being in the nature. He just loves it. And he finds intense happiness with his way of life and just having his children and grandchildren. Now, obviously, I'm not advocating that being material wealthy is a bad thing. Obviously, if we're honest with ourselves, whether you're American or not, we'd all love to have generational wealth. But what I'm saying is that this is not the only way to attain wealth. You could still just have all these things that I'm talking about, have intense happiness, have contentment, and you are still rich. The fifth and final way that my mindset has been de-westernized is seeing, honestly, I even think many Americans and many Westerners see this, but these gender wars are just so ridiculous. Now, feminism is actually a good thing. Real feminism was women just wanting equal rights to work, to contribute and be a part of society. That's feminism. Rosa Parks a long time ago refusing to get off to give up her seat and to have equal rights is feminism. However, modern feminism is just men are bad, men are bad, men are bad. Men are so bad. Oh my gosh, I hate men. And people like Andrew Tate, to be fair, people like Andrew Tate are also part of the problem, constantly with his influence telling people that women are bad, you shouldn't respect women, you shouldn't respect women. The gender wars are ridiculous. Outside of Western culture, it is understood that men and women are different, and it's not a bad thing. Men were born to lead. Men were born to lead their families. Men were born, we have the inner just intuition, desire to want to work and take care of our families. That's a manly thing. Infrastructure is created by majority of men. Women, they are really good at being loving, being nurturing, that babies, especially me being a father, babies just need their mothers. They need that love and comfort. Women are really good at keeping the house beautiful, keeping it clean, making it a safe place where families can be emotionally safe. You will not get canceled in several places saying that it is better for women to stay at home and take care of the baby if they can, because they're good at that. In the West, what I'm saying would probably get me canceled by several people, maybe by the majority of society. And I will be told that I'm being misogynistic, that I'm a woman hater. But outside of the West, outside of the US, this is agreed upon by the majority of society. Overseas, outside of America and Western countries, if you ask a girl on a date, she will expect you to pay. You don't have to guess. Now maybe after a few dates, if she likes you, she'll probably pay. If she really likes you, wants to be in a relationship with you, but she will expect you to pay. You don't have to think, should I pay? It's expected. Whereas in America, I've seen several clips. It's like, oh, let's go Dutch because I want to show my independence. That's kind of weird. I'm sorry, it's weird. I mean, women should want to be treated. They should want their bill to be paid for because men should take the initiative and lead. So that's a nice thing about non-Western society. These are very much agreed upon principles. I'll never forget last year, almost 2 years ago, when I was on the flight to China. I couldn't sleep on the plane, so I decided to give Barbie a try, watch it. And after 20 minutes, I just turned it off because of all the modern feminist propaganda. I'm glad that in non-Western countries, these things are seen as nonsense. Going overseas to teach English abroad did not just change my location. It changed my mindset. Now, obviously, I'm not here to say that America is some terrible place. It is my country. I'm probably going to go back in a few years. But being overseas has definitely changed my mindset, and it's going to be with me for as long as I live. Now, perhaps you're watching this video, and you're saying, wow, made you think on some things. Maybe you want to experience a new culture. Maybe you want to live abroad. But you don't know how to do it. Maybe you want to also be molded mentally. But you're thinking you have to have lots of money to do it. Well, I'm here to tell you, to teach English abroad, you don't have to have a lot of money. You just have to have a plan and some courage to take the leap. If you would like some more information on teaching English abroad, or you just need some guidance on how it works and how to go about the process, then you can go on the link in the description below and book a one-on-one consultation with me in my stand store. I will listen to what your interests are, what you want out of the experience, what your goals are, and I can tell you which country or which countries may be best for you. So thank you for watching this video. Click on the link in the description and let's talk. I will see you in the next video. Thank you for watching.